Street performing, busking, the art of performing in a public space for tips or gratuities. This can be difficult.
To put yourself in a public space and perform your art for unsuspecting and potentially unwilling people can be a daunting prospect and comes with a myriad of challenges and hurdles to face.
Busking isn't an easy thing to do. Even if you're incredibly skilled at what you do, success isn't guaranteed. Today, we are diving into the social and mental struggles you may encounter when street performing. Embarrassment is a social construct, largely stemming from our need for affection and recognition from others. It rarely occurs outside of a social construct. If I were to drop my playing cards all over this room, it might be annoying, yes, but I wouldn't be embarrassed.
However, if this happened in a public space, I may feel differently about what happened as there are people to judge and witness this mistake. Street performing can facilitate embarrassment, and by putting yourself out there to perform, you are risking judgment from those who witness.
This is one of the first big mental hurdles you face when street performing, busking, or just performing in general. If you can't push past what people may or may not be thinking about you, then you may never perform. Embarrassment and fear of screwing up, of people judging you, of making a fool of yourself play a big part in your motivation to do your first street show.
Once you push past these and accept that you probably shouldn't care about a stranger's opinion, who probably won't remember you in 5 minutes, the idea of standing in public and pursuing your passion becomes a lot easier.
Other factors, however, can influence your motivation to begin a show. I personally struggle with the motivation and discipline to begin my first show of the day due to my own thoughts getting the better of me. The unknown of whether I'm going to do a successful or unsuccessful show is a scary reality to face. Everything from the busyness of the public space to the belief in myself that I can do it can be a stopping force to me starting. Now, the unknown of whether you're going to build a crowd or not may be harder for the street performers who have to do circle shows, who have to build a crowd to get a stop and watch them. This is compared to musicians who for the most part can just play their instrument without consequence of a crowd building or not. So you've pushed past all these mental hurdles and you've done your first show. Hooray, success! Not always. The aftermath of doing a show can be the biggest mental battle for you. It is for me. You may have standards for judging your own show's success or failure. Maybe you didn't earn enough, your crowd wasn't big or energetic enough, or you didn't enjoy your performance, etc.
Let's say you've done a show and failed. Maybe you bailed halfway through, you couldn't get anyone to watch, or it's a failure in your eyes because of your standards. There are so many factors that go into a successful street show that I am still learning every single day. The success or failure of your show could be because of the tiniest change in something that you've said or done.
This can be a struggle. You can't always pinpoint everything wrong with your show. There are so many psychological subtleties and nuances that go into a show that you may only learn over time without even realizing. The problem now becomes that you are so in your head because you've done a bad show that doing another one is even harder and you're stopping yourself. I know this happens to me. When I do a bad show, I look at it in a few ways. First, was I happy with the performance? And factors that I could or couldn't control ruined the overall outcome of it.
You are in a public space after all, and the control of your crowd, energy, and enthusiasm isn't guaranteed at all.
If so, I try to analyze those circumstances of what happened and learn from it, hoping to implement it in the future. Of course, this isn't an instant implement everything solution and be done with it fix. This may take a lot of shows to learn and improve on, but if you're aware of it and are working out the kinks, your show will get better over time. For example, losing a group of people from the front edge of your crowd can be a determining factor in the success of your show. I've certainly done shows where I have a strong edge of people watching, everyone's having fun, and then all of a sudden the group I was interacting with from the very start leave halfway through the show. Maybe they've got somewhere to be, I can't control that, but it ruins the energy of the crowd, and there's the doorbell. This can be a major turning point in your show as other people see them leave and think, oh yes, it's my time to escape, and just boom, out of there. Dealing with situations like these take time to learn, and the best way, unfortunately, is just to fail like tens or even hundreds of times doing show after show. And then it still may happen. Street performing techniques are not set in stone. They are not guaranteed. Secondly, maybe I'm feeling off for the day. I've got a weird energy outside of my normal weird energy. Or not all the confidence normally present with my performing persona.
Sometimes these are noticeable to me, and sometimes only to the public, whether subconsciously or consciously. This can result in smaller shows, people being put off watching me, or just not enjoying the entertainment.
Unfortunately, this can be more difficult to deal with, especially when you don't quite know what is wrong. Sometimes it's just a bad day, they happen, and nothing will change it. The motivation to continue during these times, however, can be a little bit difficult. If you're in the fortunate position to not rely on the income from the day, you can call it quits. It may be better for your mental state and confidence street performing in the future if you do. However, if you are reliant on the income, you will have to push through. The good thing is, paying rent can be a big motivation to continue. Tell me about it. If I'm pushing through these kind of days, these bad mental struggle days where you don't quite know what's going on, I do my best to analyze what I'm doing and what's maybe working and isn't working, and just continue throughout my day. But I definitely don't want the negative reactions and potential outcomes to affect the rest of the shows or the shows that I do in the future, in the next day, week, etc. Keeping this in mind is definitely important. Just because you suck one day doesn't mean you're gonna suck every day, unless you just suck. In that case, suck, learn from it, and get better. So now is the time to push through your mental struggles and do the next show. The worst thing, like I said, you can do is focus on the previous show.
Ideally, you want to push that as far from your mind as possible and start again fresh. Saying this, of course, is far easier than doing it. I've done my fair share of bad show after bad show, and as demotivating as it can be, I'm still here.
Reassuring yourself and taking time to focus on your mental state during the day is imperative to your success.
At the end of the day, you have two options. Give up, go home, start again, reset, evaluate your life choices, and then be prepared to go through it all again the next day with a smile on your face.
Or you can do another show. You can do one and then call it quits regardless of its success, knowing that you at least tried again. You can do shows until you finish on a good one, ending your day with success. But whatever you choose, do your best to proceed with positive outcomes in mind. If you think it's going to fail, then it's probably going to fail, and that's not the right mindset that you want to have. At least in my experience. This is all just in my experience, and it's what I go through.
What I like to do is push through and continue doing shows for the day, especially if I've had a bad show early on. After all, this is how I make my living. If it's near the end of the day, however, I will reiterate this quote that was told to me by a passing street performer as I was struggling for the day. Always do the show you don't want to do.
Always do the show you don't want to do. This is a wonderful quote that I keep in mind often, and it has helped me finish my day on a good note, or at least one more show more than once. This really helps push motivation aside and turn to discipline to get the job done. Now look, failure is not a bad thing. While you feel garbage in the moment, yes, it is the fastest way I have found to learn what is wrong and how to improve it. I don't think my show would be anywhere near what it is today, and it's still a big work in progress if I hadn't failed over and over again.
After all, your failure more than likely won't matter to anyone else but yourself. Everyone has their own shit to worry about, least of all some random street performer that they watched for 10 minutes.
Now I understand this video and all of the struggles I have listed may be off-putting to go and busk, but this has been the reality for me. I've been street performing full-time since December when I moved to Sydney in 2022, and I've failed a lot. I'm now slowly starting to see success, and I'm much happier. I'm glad I've gone through all of that trial and tribulation. However, you may have different experiences to me. You may process failure differently to me. You might have more success, be more skillful, be better at interacting, all these things. I'm one person and this is what I've gone through, so please don't let me and my struggles put you off pursuing this as a passion, dream, goal, lifetime achievement. I just wanted to share what I've gone through, and hopefully it helps people recognize that, I guess, failure and the mental struggles and the demotivation and the discipline and all that. I mean, I go through it as well, and I'm doing this as a living now quite comfortably. So do with that information as you will, but I hope it helps someone.
It may not all be rainbows and sunshines, or in this case, fat hats and big crowds, but from experience, I wouldn't trade the failure for anything.
It's helped me learn, grow. It's because of that that I am where I am today, and I'm still constantly failing and learning and keeping on going. So, I wish you all the luck. If you have any questions about this or you want to discuss anything, drop it in the comments and I'd be happy to reply. This is something, as I hope you can tell, I am very passionate about. See you in the next video.
Street performing can... Oh, this is my manager.